Congressman Jason Chaffetz. He's a leading voice on terror and security-related issues. He's also the new chairman of the powerful House Oversight Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. Let me get to that last point that Barbara just raised, this porous border. He is a NATO ally, yet people apparently could just cross from Turkey randomly into Syria, get themselves aligned with ISIS, then come back and eventually go into Europe or even come to the United States. What's going on here?
It's a deep concern with the visa waiver program. I can tell you I'm also very concerned about what's happening or not happening in North Africa. Libya policy is something I think that's going to come back and haunt us. You look at what's happening in Mali and Nigeria. Some of those border issues, we know that there are terrorist types of activities, particularly in Libya, that are happening unimpeded, and worry about the intelligence that we have coming out of those countries. So the threat is very real. We cannot ignore it. It is very real, and we got to protect the homeland.
Is the Turkish government doing enough to prevent people from crossing into Syria?
Well, I worry. I don't understand from the Obama administration what their real tactics and what their game plan and strategy is to deal with Syria. I think they have botched this for a long period of time. The situation's getting worse, not better. We look at friends and allies from Israel, look at what's happening in Jordan and the population that has moved. Nearly half the population of Syria has moved into Jordan and other places, and this is a real problem. And to try to keep track of those individual fighters and those who would do harm and mayhem to the United States of America one at a time is a huge, monumental task.
Well, just quickly, but is Turkey doing enough to help in this process?
Well, look, they've been a good friend of the United States of America. Is there more that we can all do on this front? Absolutely. Absolutely. They need to do more. We could do more to help them, and we need our NATO allies to help as well.
Well, the U.S. is launching airstrikes, as you know, drone strikes. What else do you want the Obama administration to do?
I want there to be a clear policy of how we're going to actually tackle this problem long time. If you were to go ask the Obama administration or ask a Joe Sixpack on the street, what is our strategy to tackle and defeat ISIS and make sure that they don't come to the United States of America, I don't see a clear and concise strategy out there. We have to defeat them. It starts with first identifying what it is, this radical view of Islam. These people, they're spreading. It's not just a lone wolf, one or two here. It is actually something that is pervasive. It is global in its nature, and we have to fight it.
Because they say the strategy is clear: to degrade and destroy ISIS. What else specifically would you like to see the U.S. military, the CIA, other agencies of the U.S. government do right now?
Well, today at lunch, we're at this Republican conference here. We actually had Tony Blair come in, one of the great allies of the United States of America, the former British Prime Minister. And one of the things he talked about that I think we agree with is we have to have these people around the globe who are fighting with us. We've got to be able to figure out how to fight on the ground and bring these people, particularly with ties in the Islamic community, that will actually fight this fight. And we have not had American leadership. We have not had a president who has actually led in the Middle East to build that coalition and defeat ISIS. It's not happening, Wolf. Not to the degree that it has to in order to win.
Well, let me just be precise. Are you recommending that the U.S. use extensive ground forces to go in there and kill ISIS?
What we're saying is that we have not built a coalition. You do not see those partners, particularly in the Middle East, who are willing to take up arms and fight and defeat this radical view of Islam, who are going out, they're destroying mayhem, they're taking up ground, they're creating chaos. You can pick up the paper at any given day and you're reading about people being beheaded and killed. The world is a dangerous place, but we do not have our Arab partners and other people there that are actually helping to take up arms and defeat ISIS. Well, it's just not happening.
Some of the Arab allies are joining the U.S. in these airstrikes, but let's some of the European allies, the NATO allies, were in fact ready to use ground forces. Would you support an introduction of major elements of the United States military on the ground to go into Syria and Iraq and try to destroy ISIS?
We have to have a global plan. It's got to be led in large part by the United States of America and the President of the United States. That strategy has not been laid out. I know what the end looks like. I know what the goal is. We have to unilaterally make sure that we lead the charge and defeat ISIS. That is a threat to our homeland. It is a threat to world of peace and safety.
I mean, I was just going to say, Congressman, everybody agrees that's the goal, to defeat, to destroy ISIS. The question is, how do you do that? And I'm just wondering if you would support what the Bush administration did, introduce tens of thousands of U.S. combat forces to go in there on the ground to invade and try to destroy the enemy.
I think we have done a terrible job of convincing our partners there in the Middle East to actually join up and take arms and help lead that fight. I don't think America necessarily has the appetite to pour hundreds of thousands of people back into the Middle East to fight a long and protracted war. But we have to understand that this is happening globally. It's not just isolated in one or another place, but we have totally failed to bring along other countries and allow them, in their own best interest, in their own backyard, in their own countries, to actually fight this fight. The president has not led on this.
There may be a change in the aftermath of what has happened in recent days in France and now in Belgium, but we shall see. Are you confident, Congressman, that if an American citizen goes to Syria, spends some time in Syria, and then comes back to the United States, the U.S. government will be aware of this person and potentially could engage in some surveillance to make sure this person doesn't engage in terrorist activities against the U.S.?
No, absolutely not. This is one of the great fears. A lot of people who come over on the airlines, they're much easier to track. Their background information that we can track. But if you look at the porous border on both the north and the south, I mean, we did have 4 people on September 10th tied with a terrorist organization. They came across the northern border. They got across successfully. We captured them. Then what happened? 2 of them were released after a court date. And then we had to go back and the Canadians had to catch them. So terrorists have come across our southern border successfully as recently as September. We're not tracking all of these people. It's very difficult. We get about 1 million people coming into the country on any given day. Very difficult job. Love the men and women who are working hard to do this, but we do not have a viable entry-exit system in the United States of America. This has never been implemented.
I'm sure your committee will be investigating this problem.